Hi, my name is Clarcibella, and we are going to be covering the topic over elapsed time. Over the elapsed time, we are going to be covering the little misconceptions that there are for the students, which would be looking at the clocks differently, like an analog clock and a digital clock. A majority of the students might have trouble with the analog clocks just because of the two different hands. You have a short hour hand, but you also have a long minute hand. And some students might get those confused, thinking maybe the long one goes to the hour and the short one goes to the minutes. And sometimes it is just difficult to read for the students because they aren't so great at counting them through the numbers yet. And I mean, you have your little ticks and everything else there, so it can be kind of confusing to them. Unlike when you see a digital clock, it typically will just have the number standing right there and it'll give you the exact time when you need it. Because I know as a student when I was younger, I did not like the analog clocks. It was so much easier for a digital clock. But I mean, you can teach yourself little tricks to be easier to count for the analog clocks, and it'll just be easier to look at times that way. First thing I want to cover though is that you don't want to have your students just do it a like specific way, because the example I'm going to be using is going to be with the kind of like a timeline for the hours. Students can all do it different ways, especially if the question is asking it different ways. There are like ways to either add the times or to subtract the time, so you don't want to limit your students to a specific way, but I'm going to show the way that I feel most comfortable with. And also, you might want to just compare clocks for the students just because it might be easier. You can use the analog clock and the digital clock together just to show, like, from the digital clock what the time should look like on the analog clock, or what vice versa for the analog clock to the digital clock. Um, for the lesson, I did draw out some clocks and I did draw out my timeline already. So this is going to be our analog clock, and I used the colors to label them. So the purple hand right now is going to show the short hour period, the short hour hand, sorry. And the green color is showing the long minute hand. It's going to show for the times correct that we want to start at, so we're going to start at the time of 8 o'clock in the morning. And for the blue label, it's going to do for the short hour hand later on throughout the day. And the pink one is going to cover for the long minute hand throughout the day. So our ending time will want to be at 3:30. So at the bottom, of course, I wrote start time for our event is going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the end time will end at 3. And as you can see, I drew my little hoops on the clock just because it might be easier for the students that way also when you're going through the hours. I didn't want to do the whole minutes because it was going to take a few times to do it, so I did it on a completely different timeline for that. But this is the first example for the students to see. So as we begin, I want to show the difference between the digital clocks also. So this is typically what a digital clock should look like. It's going to just have the exact numbers, so the students are most likely going to be comfortable with that. But you might want to show them, like, okay, this is going to be our beginning time, so that's what it should look like on this analog clock, which is going to be with the purple and the green hands. The purple at the hour and the green at the minute. And again, this is going to be our ending time for 3:30 on a digital clock. And of course, on your analog clock, it is going to be the blue hand is pointing at the 3 for 3:30, and the pink one at the 6 for 30 minutes. And here we go for this one. We have it drawn out to where we have the loops for the hour. Of course, this is going to show our ending time now on the analog clock. And as you can see, I drew the loops. Since we started at 8 o'clock, we have one going to 9, to 10, to 11, to 12, from 12 to 1, from 1 to 2, 2 to 3. That together is already 7 minutes that 7 hours that have already passed by for the students. And on this paper, we have written, work begins at 8 a.m. The shift will end at 3:30 p.m. How many hours will be spent at work? So that is the question that we are answering for the students. And as you can see here under it, I have drawn my timeline out. Again, I have written the times out showing the start time and the end time. I wrote each hour mark that we are passing by, from 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 to 12 to 1 to 2 to 3. And then I drew the 30 minutes in a different color just because it is hitting a different time span. We are not going in the hours, we are now going by half an hour. So that is 30 minutes. But if you count your loops, that is the easiest way I could see it for the students to do it. And you have 7 hours that have passed by, and the 30 minutes, you add that together, that is 7.5 hours. 7 hours and 30 minutes have passed by for the shift. Thank you.